G'day, which is the cheapest race on this year's F1 calendar, where a 3-day race ticket plus 4 nights accommodation is yours for less than $120 that's 180 Aussie dollars, or 89 British pounds. Which race? You're about to find out. There are 24 races on the 2026 calendar, so I asked Andy Balfour from GP Destinations to price the cheapest 3-day ticket to every race. And here's what he discovered. Let's start with the median price tickets, those events in the middle of the range, and they are the Belgium and Australian Grand Prix. $240 for Spa, $258 for Australia. Now, the Australian race, slightly more expensive, is better value because there are 4 days of track action at the Australian Grand Prix, just 3 in Spa. Let's work our way upwards on this chart. Next is Barcelona, $263, followed by Monaco and Canada. Madrid, $325. Abu Dhabi, $350. But those tickets haven't gone on sale, so for that figure, we've used last year's pricing. Austin is next, $355. The Netherlands, their last race for some time, $372. Las Vegas, $400. And like Austin, those tickets haven't gone on sale yet for this year, so we've used last year's prices. Singapore, $422 for the Zone 4 walkabout. Miami, we're using last year's figures again, $430. And the most expensive general admission ticket is at Silverstone for the British Grand Prix, $431. Now, for all of those events that haven't gone on sale yet, you can expect the prices to be a little bit higher in 2026. Let's work our way downwards from the median prices, with Mexico at $215, Hungary $187, Bahrain $186, Austria $184, Sao Paulo $182, Qatar $165, and then 3 races at $140, Azerbaijan, Monza, and Saudi Arabia. And that leaves us with just 2 races vying for the cheapest F1 race this year, Japan and China. China takes the nod by a mile, $68 for the Zone C, F, and J general admission areas. Japan, $122. Now remember, that is for a 3-day ticket, except for Australia, which is 4. But going back to China being the cheapest race, it is very tricky for foreigners to buy tickets at the best prices due to local demand, as well as the need to navigate a Chinese language website and payment apps. If you get your tickets from an international agent, you'll be paying about 30% more. But coming off a very low base price and not having to muck around with all that other stuff, I'd suggest it's probably well worth paying the extra 30%. Now, I will combine those prices with hotel prices to give you a better idea shortly. But in the interim, I will remind you that if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please hit that button. I don't want you to miss out on future videos. Next up, let's look at grandstand pricing. I'm going to start at the most expensive cheap ticket, and this probably comes as little shock to anyone. Monaco, $1,080 United States dollars. Vegas, $875, $670 for the Miami race, $618 for the Farm Curve grandstand at Silverstone. Netherlands, $536, Madrid, $518, a few dollars less in Austin at the Turn 12 lower bleachers. Singapore, $473, Abu Dhabi, $462, $409 for Barcelona. Down to the 300s now, and it's Mexico City, followed by Azerbaijan, Australia, Belgium, Austria, and Canada. Grandstand 47 there. We're now down to the cheapest 8 races for a grandstand seat, and there are 3 grandstands in Qatar at $275, in Saudi Arabia $270, Italy $246, Hungary $234, China $226, Bahrain $186, Sao Paulo $182, and the cheapest grandstand seat of all of the 24 races, Japan, a mere $140 United States dollars. Before I get on to the cheapest pit straight grandstand seat, I'll tell you that I had a crack at doing this myself, and it is a minefield trying to come up with prices. So hats off to GP Destinations for wading through all of that information and putting it in a nice readable format for me. Now, pit straight grandstand seats, which are probably among the most expensive because, of course, you get to look into the garages. And shall we go to the most expensive, cheapest seat? No, we're going to start at the cheapest seat. That honour goes to China, $367 for a 3-day ticket. Bahrain, $517, Qatar, $549, Australia, the Fangio Grandstand, $549, and Sao Paulo, $636. Next up, Japan, and then Belgium, Barcelona, Hungary, Canada, Saudi Arabia, Austria $796, Italy $800, Abu Dhabi $820, and Britain in the Hamilton Straight B Grandstand $959. The Netherlands is the first of these races above $1,000, $24 more than that. Azerbaijan $1150, same as Austin. Miami $1175, Monaco $1289, $1360 for Madrid, Singapore $1384, and the 2 most expensive pit straight grandstand seats in US dollars are those at Mexico City, $1,678, with the most expensive being Las Vegas at $1,750. Now remember that Qatar Las Vegas, Abu Dhabi, Miami, and Austin aren't on sale yet, so expect those prices to probably bump up a little. And if you take an average of the general admission, the cheapest grandstand, and the pit straight grandstands, here's the list as it stands from the cheapest. China at $220, Bahrain, Japan, Qatar, Sao Paulo, Hungary, Italy, Australia, Saudi Arabia, and Austria. That's your top 10, followed by Belgium, Canada, Barcelona, Abu Dhabi, Azerbaijan, Netherlands, Britain, Austin, Madrid, and Miami. And the four most expensive are Singapore, Mexico City, Monaco, with Las Vegas, the most expensive at $1,008 on average. So how do this year's prices compare with last? The biggest increase in prices is the Netherlands. That's up something like 22%. And at the other end of the scale, Japan has actually dropped by 1.6%. But that might well be because of currency conversions. Let's move on to hotels now. And I priced 4 nights for each of the 24 Grand Prix on Hotels.com. I selected lowest to highest price, checking in on media day and checking out the day after the Grand Prix, and the prices range from $73 for 4 nights, which is $47 US, up to $2,300 Aussie, about $1,500 US. And that last figure is not the most expensive, that is the cheapest for a race. And when I get to that, I think it will floor you. I did this on New Year's Eve. So let's start with the median price, the ones right in the middle. And there are 2, Canada, and this one will surprise you, Las Vegas. There are 11 cheaper races, and there are 11 more expensive races. So let's go up to the most expensive. 12th spot, Madrid, and that's a first-time race for us this year. Singapore is next. It's a small country, and you're never too far from the track. Austin, yeah, for that sort of money, you're going to be out in the suburbs. Belgium, at Spa, it's a tough one. Not much of quality around the area. Normally you'll be in an Airbnb or a smaller place and there'll be a drive involved. Hungary at $408 US, Netherlands $410, Monza $416. Barcelona surprised me a bit here, $469 US was the cheapest for the 4 nights. Then Abu Dhabi, Great Britain, and at just over $1,500 US for 4 nights, Austria. That was the most expensive race last year as well. Now, a lot of you are saying, oh yeah, but you can camp there. I didn't do camping. I just went to Hotels.com and I'm showing you whatever they threw up as the cheapest option. So let's go back to the median price and then count down to the lowest price. Next up, you'll find Japan. Australia surprised me. Monaco, look at that, $205 US for 4 nights. Now you're thinking Monaco's crazily priced. Well, it is if you stay in Monaco, but it's very small. The cheaper options are outside of Monaco, normally in Nice or some of the small towns on the way. Even if you stay in Nice, the train trip's only in the order of 30 minutes. With a direct train. 8th cheapest was Miami, 7th Qatar, and look, if you go to Qatar, I'm going to recommend you find somewhere to stay in Lusail. I love that area. Plenty of restaurants, plenty of options in terms of accommodation, and a lot closer to the track than staying in the city. 6th Bahrain, then Saudi at $141 US for 4 nights, Mexico City, Sao Paulo, and that leaves us with 2. China and Azerbaijan. So which was the cheapest place? According to Hotels.com, for 4 nights at a Grand Prix, it was China, but only by $3 US from Azerbaijan. And for slightly less than $12 US a night, you do get somewhere to store your belongings and sleep. Obviously, you're not going to spend all of your time luxuriating in a room like this, but if you are on a budget, it's good to know that you can get accommodation for rates as low as that. And as I mentioned before, I didn't include camping. Yes, at some places you will find camping a lot cheaper, but certainly you won't find it anywhere near as cheap as $47 US for 4 nights. So what is the cheapest race to attend for both a general admission ticket and 4 nights accommodation? It is China, 115 United States dollars. That is a cracker of a price. Of course, if you live in Shanghai, you've got no extra costs. But most of you won't be living in Shanghai, so yes, you'll have to add on top of that an airfare, perhaps, or maybe a cruise, and food. But food's pretty cheap in China. But one great thing about China is, for many nationalities, you can enter visa-free for up to 30 days until the end of 2026. That's a pretty cool deal. So what's the second cheapest race? That'd be Azerbaijan. $190, $246 for Sao Paulo. And then it's Saudi Arabia, Mexico City, Qatar, Bahrain, and Japan. Followed by Monaco, Australia, Monza, Hungary, Canada, and Miami. Madrid, $662, followed by Las Vegas, Austin, Barcelona, Singapore. And the 5 most expensive races, Netherlands, Belgium, Abu Dhabi, Great Britain, and Austria at $1,728. Now that is because of that anomaly with the cheapest accommodation in Austria being such a crazy price. And this is exactly what showed up last year when I did this. Yes, you can stay in camping and you'll save yourself a few dollars there. You might even be able to find yourself a cheaper apartment or a hotel perhaps a lot further away. But as I mentioned earlier, I've just gone on what hotels.com threw up because it was easy to search that way. Hopefully you've learned a thing or two there. If we go back now to the average ticket price in 2025 compared with this year, prices are up by about 10% from $488 last year to $536 this year. And tickets are generally cheaper in the Middle East due to the fact that those governments are tipping in quite a few dollars. Of course, I go to every single F1 race. I photograph all of them. And if you're asking for my advice as to what event perhaps you should go to based on the dollars that we've seen here, I would say Japan. The cheapest general admission, $385. Cheapest hotel, $263. Of course, that's not going to be anything flash in Japan. It'll be very small rooms, hopefully not too far from the track. But I like that race because of the culture, the food, the track is magnificent, and it's just a lovely experience. Hopefully you've learned a thing or two there, and thank you to GP Destinations. Head over to their website and have a look at what they have to offer. Andy Balfour's done a lot of work on your and my behalf. Thank you. And if you're not yet subscribed, please make sure you click on that button. Thanks for watching and stay passionate.